Hi, everybody. I am so happy to welcome Miranda here with me today. I've been chatting a little bit with Miranda. She has a story to tell, and we both think that this could help a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of people with the same problem that just are not saying anything or keeping it hidden or living quietly in pain. We're going to tell her story first, and then a little later on, we're going to have Jodi Takhar come and join us and help us. She's an addiction specialist, and basically, I'll tell my bit first so that it feels a little freer for Miranda. Is that I have bipolar disorder, and when I become manic, I can even black out completely, and I can go in and spend a bunch of money somewhere, or I can go into a casino, spend about a bunch of money somewhere, or online shop or something like that, and it can really be mayhem on my life. And thankfully right now everything's good, but I can accidentally even take a supplement. It can be a herb, but like something my naturopath gave me, and throw me into this horrible, debilitating situation. But so we met in a group that is a support group for if you spend too much money, right? And so we're attacking compulsive spending addiction today, and Miranda's going to I think it's important to talk about her story as far as how this all began and going back to her early years. And I think that right now, if I'm right to say, Miranda's in a bit of a discovery period, sort of figuring out where does this come from. And with Jodi's help, maybe we can really get this sorted out. And I'm just so proud of her for being here and having the courage to tell your story, because that's so unbelievably awesome. Thanks, Miranda.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's tuning in and, listening in on what we have to say and, part of my story. So my name is Miranda, and I am from a small town in southern Indiana, hence the accent. My journey definitely starts from whenever I was, an infant, from right whenever I was born. My parents were both very young, 18 and 20 years old. And, once they found out that they were pregnant with me, it was, definitely something they weren't ready for, but they were ready to embrace it full on. My mother had a disease called neurofibromatosis, which affects the nervous system. It can cause tumors, it can cause hearing loss, along many other symptoms that can really affect your living and your ability to do things in life. And so once I was born, she immediately had to get surgery to remove a tumor from her brain. And I wasn't with my mom for 3 months after I was born. And there's a really great article that Dr. Mary Ainsworth wrote. She studied attachment styles with infants. And just from looking at her work, I definitely formed a insecure attachment style just from not being able to be with my mom physically. And, my dad was working full time, trying to take care of me and help out with my mom's medical bills. So that definitely started, the changes in me with, definitely I think that's where my anxiety stems from in the beginning, is through that. It has just kind of carried with me through the different events and experiences that I've been through with my life.
And you kind of had you had a pretty, well, you had a relationship with your grandfather that he was trying to get you to do chores, and then you'd earn a little bit of money, and then you'd go to the mall and go shopping to get stuff. Is that do you remember that? Tell me about that.
Oh, definitely. So I went to go live with my grandfather, and I needed new clothes, new toys, new everything. Because my dad did have a yard sale and, sold a lot of my items whenever, he kind of figured that I wasn't going to go back home. And so my grandpa took me shopping, let me pick out anything that I wanted, any clothes, shoes, toys, you name it. And, that really made me feel good. And
Yeah.
so, in order to help me to feel like a normal kid, he, said, here, let's, give you some chores to do so you can earn allowance money. And of course, at the end of the month, I always wanted to go, blow my allowance money on toys. And then as I got older, it definitely led to shoes, purses, clothes, a lot of those items that, girls, often fawn after and, want to have that certain style to fit in. So
Yeah.
that's definitely, I think, a time where the, pivotal moment where, shopping became something that, wow, this makes me feel good. I
Yeah.
can have whatever I want. I can be on my own shopping. I mean, it really gives you that super dopamine rush whenever you are doing it. If you do have that, you know, you get that high from shopping.
Yeah. So when you started, that's kind of how it began for you, and then you got into high school. You had a little bit of a rough patch in there, and then your senior year it got a little bit better.
Yes. So by my senior year, I had been running track and cross country since I was 10 years old. And that was a really big part of my life and, helping me to focus. And it was always the one constant in my life.
Yeah.
And so, I really felt like I was, really trying to push hard because I was really wanting to get scholarships. And so, the shopping definitely it got worse in high school. I was shoplifting. I would, find any time that I could just to go shopping, whether I was spending money or, taking items without purchasing them. But definitely senior year, it helped me to, focus on my future and, that I don't need that, don't need these coping mechanisms that, have been holding me back. And I've always been someone who, anything that I have gone through, I don't let that define me. But although
Yeah.
you can heal from those things, just as fast as you can heal, you can, be triggered the next day, or you can, go right back to that coping mechanism that helped you to get through that. Um,
Yeah, I want to talk about triggers a little bit really soon. But before we get there, I just wanted to ask you, then following that up, you eventually met your current husband, right? And got with him, and you're trying to make a, nice life for yourself, and this doggone thing keeps monkeying on your back. Is that basically what's happening for you now?
Oh, definitely. We decided a couple years ago that we definitely wanted to leave Indiana. We just wanted to explore and see what, where we could go. We could do anything, move anywhere with our lives. We had nothing holding us back. And so we both agreed upon Colorado. And, towards the end of living in Indiana, that's whenever COVID-19 happened. And so, that has been such a huge stress and it's really impacted so many people around the
Yeah.
world. And, that definitely flared up the, shopping, compulsive shopping, whether it was online or once the stores opened again, man, that was definitely rough. I immediately went to the mall and, was like, oh, I want to get some new work clothes. And, a couple shirts turned into probably like 15 or so. And, definitely wasn't in a great place then. But once we settled on when we were going to move, we were excited. I was really thinking that, I'm going to leave all these demons in the past. I'm going to leave them all in Indiana. But that's definitely not the case. And, I definitely know better. Coping mechanisms are not, they're not a old shirt that you can just, leave behind. They follow you, they can. And definitely there are ways to help with those and to cope in a healthier ways. But, I realized after moving here that, this problem isn't going to stay in Indiana. It is with me. And, I have been, struggling since we have been here. But, I realized not long after starting my job with the massage clinic that, okay, I need to actually look and see if there's any groups or any ways to help with this. And that's whenever, I found the group that we, connected on.
Yeah.
And I did look into Debtors Anonymous, and although it is a great group, it is structured like a 12-step program. And
Mm-hmm.
so, there's not a lot of feedback or advice given to you, but you are able to talk about your issues with no judgment, which is really nice. It's
Yeah.
definitely, it
Yeah.
makes me feel like, this issue is real and that it can be taken seriously. It is serious, because, a lot of people joke. There's the movie Confessions of a Shopaholic that, people joke about, or, you'll see magnets or keychains that, joke about shopping being the number one hobby or sport, but it
That's a
definitely,
really good point, is that they kind of make fun of, something that can really be so hard and so devastating. I know. I've certainly been through it. I've woken up, and you get that pit in your stomach thinking, what the heck just happened? Is that what happened to you? Do you wake up with the remorse?
it's not so much as waking up, but it's definitely, if it's been a day or so, or even sometimes it's right after the purchase, it will be, kind of that feeling of, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like,
Yeah.
even since being here, there's been a couple times where, I've almost had, myself, it was almost a manic shopping episode where, I just purchased as much, all the stuff that I wanted, that I had on my list or that I had saved, on my internet browser on my phone or even the laptop. And, after I'm purchasing everything, it's like, oh, it feels good. But then only 10 minutes later, I'm like, well, how are we going to pay rent this month? It definitely is an issue. And it really just takes over your mind. It's like, it clouds up your mind.
What about returning? Because it's stuff, unlike like gambling, for example, you can't return anything. Does that help with any of this at all? The whole returning, buying and returning, or no?
Returning usually it is only beneficial for me if it is something that has been ordered offline. That way, I can ship it back and I don't have to, worry about going in the store and exchanging it for something else that I see. Because that
Oh,
is the number one, way that will get me if I'm going to exchange something in the store. And so, from here on out, I've really, tried to make an effort to, anytime I go to the store, if it's like, Ross, TJ Maxx, or the mall or anything like that, besides the grocery store, I will ask my husband to go with me because yes, anytime I go to the store, such as the mall, Ross, TJ Maxx, anything with, clothes that's more so, leisurely spending rather than the grocery store, I will ask him to go with me, just because I definitely don't trust myself. I am in the beginning of, changing this coping mechanism and,
yeah,
trying to overcome this addiction. And
yeah.
he fully supports me, which is so great. Just because, a lot of family or friends, my friends are, some of them are in the same boat. They really enjoy spending money. It's a pastime for them. And so, it's almost discouraging in a way if I do ask them to go with me, because they're just going to tell me to buy it because, they have the same issues. And so with my family, they're saying, well, just don't spend money. And it's like, well, that's like telling, an addict to not use in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, to get them to conceptualize maybe what you're going through is just their situation might be completely different. They might, who knows. But so the online thing isn't too terrible for you, or is it still rough? Like, how you get emails and sales keep coming and all that jazz. Is that a trigger?
Oh, definitely. And, something that we even talked about, within the group without revealing, any information is Facebook ads. Those are so huge. And, I've been really wanting to watch on Netflix. There's a docuseries that talks about, the different places and even government that listens in, and that includes, if we talk about certain items such as a certain style of shoes or a certain brand, those will pop up on Facebook as an
Doesn't
ad.
that freak you out? Like, you just talked about it and then bammo, it's like popping up. That's freaky as
Oh yeah,
all.
not only is it freaky, but it's just awful for, the shopping addict, which is
Yeah.
so many people have this issue. And it's like, Facebook is, perfectly fine with it. They're, definitely encouraging the, capitalist mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no way to turn it off if you're gonna use it, right? There's no way to turn off the ads. Wow, you're bringing out so many things I never thought about, honestly. Oh, what else drives you crazy? Is there anything else that you hate seeing? Just being bombarded with ads, and everything you turn, it's more shop, shop, shop. It's everywhere.
Oh yeah, I've actually thought about switching my smartphone. I have an iPhone. I've thought about switching to a flip phone just to, get away from being able to use the internet, right at the touch, the fingertips, just because it's so easy to, think of, oh, I wonder if, there's any style of this pants, because I've been thinking about getting pants like this. And then, you go on your phone and all of a sudden there's, 5 different pants that are in your cart. And, that's just really where, it starts is, with thinking about those things. So, is
Yeah.
there a way to turn that off in the brain?
Yeah. I mean, this is not an easy thing because we are so bombarded. It's not like you can stay away so easily, just not go, because it's both online and it's in the, shopping in the mall itself, everything everywhere. Have you done any research on the statistics on what percentage of people are being honest and saying that they have a problem? Have you looked into that at all, Miranda?
I actually have not. That would be something interesting to do, though. I am a psychology minor, so I've studied, definitely studied a lot of trauma with domestic violence and sexual assault, just because I do have experiences with those. So that would be something interesting to research. Have you done any research on that, Laura?
No, but we should ask Jodi if she knows, what percentage of people, because it's barely talked about. Seriously, Miranda, I haven't seen anything on it. Have you looked up many videos online or anything like that? Have you seen much on this topic?
Not very many videos. I definitely want to after talking with you and Jodi, but I have actually found some books through audio or
Yeah.
Audible that I am interested in purchasing once I have finished reading my current books that I have purchased. So
Yeah.
there are a couple of, there are some literature that do talk about that, but it's definitely not something that's, as widely known or accepted, such as, you know, um, narcotic users or alcohol users, even you know eating, like binge eating is starting to be taken more seriously, and I think it has within the 21st century, but even that is still kind of a new looked at addiction, but it's still joked at, just like with the shopping addiction.
Yeah, I think this is one of the last but big frontiers, because especially since the more cooped up we are at home, the more we're looking for an outlet of some sort. And you might be able to avoid the alcohol, but then we're bombarded. We're not bombarded with alcohol ads every minute of the day, but we sure as heck are on our phones and everything else for shopping. So no matter what you're trying to do to get away from it, if you want to be in society, you're bombarded. And I just think it's really crazily unfair that there's been hardly anything on this. And what does that do to your brain? Like those messages constantly in your brain, constant. That's got to be like having a major effect on your central nervous system, just like jolt, 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 like every time you get I know, like for me, I was like with makeup, I was when I was doing my beauty YouTube channel, I started to buy makeup like there was nobody's business. And I was verging, like really verging on it getting scary, dangerous. And my other started to be like, how much stuff do you need? And I make it rationalization with it, because I'm doing this channel, that I can just keep. And it's really I don't even know if people realize how much it costs to be a beauty YouTuber, but you've got to be on all the new stuff, like constant new things coming out.
Definitely.
And I thought, you can be on YouTube without having to spend like more than your income on makeup just to be on here. But that's what's promoted. That's what you're expected to do. So you start to get on this train, and then, you know, you sign up for all of the different, because you got to know what's happening, what's trending, and it just consumes you. And, you know, like, to put the brakes on it, it's not easy. Like, you've got to really, it's work, conscious work.
And I bet that was even tough with, you know, Kylie Jenner coming out with all of her kits and her, you know, makeups. You know, those were very popular, and they're definitely not, you know, as cheap as CoverGirl or Maybelline. And so, you know, I bet that was even, you know, hard to deal with that.
Oh yeah, like it's just pushed in every single direction. Do you find yourself with one particular item is the hardest, like clothes or something like that, or is it everything?
I would definitely say it's clothes. I absolutely love, you know, wearing different clothes and, you know, different fashions. Lately, I have, you know, really been trying to be more minimalist, and, you know, I have switched my fashion. I was, you know, working as a receptionist for a couple different places at a mental health office, as well as a physical therapy. And so, you know, that's more of like a business casual attire. And so, you know, going into this massage therapy position as the patient office coordinator, it's definitely more relaxed. My boss is okay with what I wear, and so, you know, now that I know I'm going to be a massage therapist, I just figured, you know, I want to dress comfortably and dress, you know, for what I like, what I want to wear. And so, you know, I did go through and I, you know, purged my closet and my shoes, and I definitely have crunched it down. So it's, you know, it was huge, and now it's, you know, pretty good size closet. So now is just, you know, the point of trying to, you know, remind myself that I have everything I need, that I don't need another necklace. I don't need another pair of joggers or, you know, a comfy t-shirt or anything like that. So, because even though, you know, I have become more minimalist, that, you know, that voice in the back of my head is still telling me, you know, oh, go look and see what deals they have at, you know, these different Athleta and, you know, Ross and everything. So it's definitely still a struggle.
Guess who's here? We got Jodi. There she is. Hi, Jodi.
Hello, how are you?
Good. It's so good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Jodi, this is Miranda. Can you see her?
Yeah, hi, Miranda. How are you?
Hi, Jodi. I'm well. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, you came just in the nick of time, because we're running into a spot like, now we need answers. We sort of sat through and talked about her story, and you know, obviously I'll let you guys talk, Jodi, and just sort of ask whatever you need to ask of Miranda to kind of see how to guide her in this. And we're hoping to help some other people. So that's why Miranda's doing this, help herself, and then maybe help some other people too.
Perfect.
Just so you guys know, Jodi Takhar is an addiction specialist and a counselor, and is an all-around incredible person. And I couldn't set you up with a better person, Miranda. So I'm so happy she agreed to come on and help us with this issue. And we're just talking about how bombarded we are with this particular, with shopping, right? And we're obviously at Christmas time right now too, but just every minute of every day on Facebook, on our phones, like on our emails, and everywhere we turn. It's not like other things. Shopping is just, we're just hit with it constant. Right, Jodi?
Yep. And every time you load something in that cart, the dopamine goes ding, ding, I love you. Right? Mm-hmm.
It's dopamine going in. Okay.
Yeah. Cause that's the reward center, right? So every time we do something, that then we get that feeling of like that woohoo, right? That's dopamine. And that's what you keep chasing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely know that feeling. I was talking with Laura earlier, you know, saying the first time that I really felt that excitement from, you know, buying new items. I was in 5th grade and had just started living with my grandpa, and I needed new clothes. And so he took me to the store and let me pick out whatever I wanted. And it was, you know, really, it was awesome. I was like, wow, I can have whatever I want. And, you know, slowly he you know, introduced chores to me and gave me an allowance. And so from then, you know, any every couple of months or so, I would want to go and spend that, go to the mall, go to different stores, and that definitely started going away from toys to, clothes, shoes, purses as I was getting into middle school, and, really fell in love with just shopping and spending money. And that has, gradually, definitely gotten worse, especially with online shopping. Is just, it's, that's where it's at right now. And that's what's, most popular, especially for, the times that we're in with COVID and people wanting to, be safe and stay home. But, if you have that card and you have a laptop, and with that spending addiction, it's not as safe as we think.
No, it's not. So what happens for you right before you want to shop?
I definitely get that. Once I get that idea, I definitely get that feeling of excitement that, ooh, I'm ready to go purchase this, or I'm ready to go look around. Lately, it's definitely been, I've had a targeted object or item that I've been needing, or, been really wanting. And so, it really starts off with that excitement. And then, once I do purchase the item or go to the store, then it feels really great. And when I get home, the biggest thing, or the most important part, is definitely looking at my items. And it's like, I'm so happy I have these new things. And then, of course, that wears off after a couple of days. And so, either once that dopamine starts to go back down to normal, I either want to return those items, or, I'm thinking, maybe there's other things that I could buy too. And, I've really only started to recognize that within the past year. But that is, basically how I feel whenever I go through that, shopping addiction process.
What happens right before you get the excitement? Can you trace that back a bit?
Like the idea, coming up with that idea of buying something?
Nope, before the idea. Because there's something that happens.
There's that void, and I recognize that. And I recognize that I need to fill this, or I need to do something too. Boredom is another,
Okay.
trigger.
So tell me about the void.
As I mentioned with Laura or earlier, growing up, definitely spent a lot of time alone, feeling, that kind of, I'm in this situation by myself. I was away from my mom for a few months after I was born because she had to get surgery. And, from then on, I was only child, and, lived with my dad for a while. My mom had left and, went to go do other things. She, my parents had me whenever they were very young. And so she, felt that she didn't get to live, her young adult life. And so she went and did that. While my dad took care of me, I didn't get a lot of items growing up with him, which, I love my dad very much. He did the best that he could as a single father, but, lots of hand-me-downs. Didn't get to go to the store and pick out, toys, even though I was very blessed and I grew up, he is such a great, amazing dad. But I often have felt alone, and I have felt, kind of by myself and isolated in a lot of situations. And I definitely think that's where that void comes from, is though, those feelings of being alone and abandonment, for sure.
Okay, so when you get that feeling, that's the trigger, right? And then the shopping comes right on the back of that. So if you can give yourself 20 minutes in between the trigger and the shopping, that feeling will pass. It's a lot to bite off to start with. A lot, right? So if you can, like at the beginning, 5 minutes. If you can't do 5, do 2. And be super gentle with yourself. Okay, this is about changing the way you process and think about it, and filling that void as best you can with other positive things, right? Things that fill your soul, things that give you things where you can fill that attachment a little bit for yourself. And honestly, therapy.
And, I have tried a few, different therapists within the past couple years. The last time that I did talk to someone, I was 11, and I, had to go through social workers and different counselors because I was living with my grandpa, removed from my dad, living with my grandpa. And so I think that's another, with my inner child, I think that, anytime I do go to the therapist, I get that defensiveness that I had whenever I was younger. And so, it is hard for me to definitely step out and remind myself that this person is here for me. They're here to listen to me and not judge me and help me deal with these things. But then the other part of me, goes back to they don't understand, they don't have these issues, when more than likely they do have their own, issues, coping mechanisms that they've had to deal with. Everyone has a story. So that's something I've, had to remind myself. And, once I am in a more, financially stable position, I definitely want to look into, getting a therapist. I always tell all of my friends, family, even, strangers, that it's so important to talk to someone and talk about your story, because that's the beginning of the healing process.
Yeah. So what about the cost of therapy, Jodi? What do you think? Is there any way to, for people who are going through these kinds of problems, they get themselves into a financial, do you have any suggestions with that, or any thoughts, any ways to manage that issue? Is worried about, I think you're thinking $200 and something an hour, like that's what a therapist normally costs, when you get a counselor. But I think there's other things that are out there that are not so costly, right?
Yeah, groups. If you can do any of the anonymous groups, might be helpful for you. You don't have to buy into the 12 steps if you don't want to, but just having a supportive group of people around you that are struggling with the same kind of deal. Smart recovery, actually, I don't know if you've heard of it, but smart recovery might be something that might help a fair bit, because that's all about cognitive behavioral therapy, right? If you want to do this, you kind of break it down and figure out your pattern and learn how to do this, right? Do it differently. So that might be something that's really, really helpful for you.
She's in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yes.
Ooh.
So we have to be online, probably.
I love Colorado. And I mean, I would be happy to see you pro bono twice a month.
That would be awesome.
I would love to. I would love to.
I have tried doing the 12-step groups, Debtors Anonymous, and it is really nice. I enjoyed the group that I was doing. I am in Colorado Springs, in the one group that is closest that I wanted to do, even though they were doing Zoom. The closest group was in Denver, which is about an hour away, and it is a great group. And very supportive, non-judgmental, and it is nice to hear, wow, I'm not the only one going through this, but there wasn't a lot of feedback, advice. And I do understand that it's because the group is run by fellow addicts, and I think it would be nice though to have that feedback or advice, rather than just venting, and rather than getting it off your chest. So that was one thing that, I noticed with that particular group. That's not, to say that other groups don't have that, or they don't offer, what they think or their advice.
That's where a sponsor comes in, right? Getting a sponsor, because then that's someone you can pick up the phone and like, oh my God, this is what's going on. What do I do? Right? And they're like right there to give you the feedback. And it's usually someone that's been through it and has a really good understanding of the steps and the inner workings, right? So that's where I have gotten my saving graces, from my sponsor. Yeah.
How prevalent is this problem, do you think, Jodi? We're talking about it, Miranda and I, and we're going to ask you, I mean, this shopping thing is so quiet. Nobody's talking about it very much. What do you think?
Nobody's talking about it because it's totally socially acceptable.
Ah.
People aren't going to die from it, right? You can keep racking up mounds and mounds and mounds and mounds of debt, and they will keep giving you more credit cards. And because really at the end of the day, credit card companies just want the interest. So they're happy if you rack it all up and don't pay.
Yeah.
They'll get it from you somehow eventually, right? So it's that quiet thing that satisfies all of us somehow. Right? And really, addiction is a lot like whack-a-mole. So someone gets sober from drinking or drugging, and then another one, food will come up, or shopping will come up, or like pick one, right? I turned baking into an addiction. It's really like you start dealing with one and another one comes up, and it's like whack-a-mole.
Wow.
Yeah, that sticks out with me really too, because something that I realized about a year ago, whenever I was about ready to finish college, I noticed that I was going to get fast food a lot, especially Culver's, if you've heard of that. Ice cream was such a big for me. And even though some people might giggle at that, but it's like, man, it was an addiction, like every single night going to get an ice cream. And that not only adds up with money, but that's just so bad for your the health part of it. And it's really because those changes happen. And so with coping mechanisms, people who are more prone to addictions, it's such an easy way to sneak in. And then once it has you, then it's so hard to break that cycle, because that's exactly what all addictions are, is that cycle. And then that has definitely bled into the shopping, which has been with me for a long time. The shopping addiction.
The shopping's where you felt loved.
Oh.
It makes complete sense.
By myself and feel accepted too. I don't have to feel alone because the clothes are making me happy. Looking at all these different items and accessories and whatnot, that's what makes you feel, oh, the clothes are my family.
And you got, the first time you really got to go do it and enjoy it was with your grandpa.
Yes, that too.
So that creates that bond there too. Right?
Gosh.
And know that addiction doesn't have it, like this stuff doesn't have anything to do with how great of a dad your dad was, or like he didn't do anything wrong. Right? This is just the coping mechanism that you chose as a little one that worked for you. That's it. Right? There's no blame anywhere.
And although it can't necessarily kill people, it can definitely cause a lot of stress. It can cause a lot of issues. Right now I'm currently sitting at some debt. It's very modest compared to other people's, but it's unnecessary debt that I don't need to have in my early 20s. Thankfully I graduated college debt free because of my dad, but now I have built this up, and this is something I'm going to have to work on and work really hard at. And while also not buying a bunch of Christmas presents for people or unnecessary items that I want, even though they're on sale for Christmas. It's still trying to conquer that, because it's what Laura says, we see it left and right, buy all these sales for Christmas, and New Year's coming up. Black Friday was definitely a difficult day. I had to turn off my phone that day and just go to bed.
It's black, all right.
Black out, yeah.
Woo. Yeah, and it's interesting what you said, Jodi, about the whack-a-mole scenario. You slip out of one and then you slip into another, and you've got to be very self-aware, I guess, if that's something that's going to happen through life. Currently it's the shopping thing. It could turn into something else. So there must be some skills. You've got to learn some skills around this, because it's so easy to look for something to feed you that's going to drain you in other ways, I guess.
Yeah. A lot of it's just being self-aware. Oh, I'm having that feeling again. Oh, I'm watching myself go do that. Oh, there's a connection there. right? And not judging yourself for it. Just like be gentle with yourself, because we beat ourselves up enough. But just noticing these things, then, oh, I wonder if there's another way I could do that, right? A lot of it's the self-talk that we do, right? Instead of, oh my God, I can't believe I did that again, and on and on and on and on, and take out the whipping stick. Like, put the whipping stick away and just like, oh, okay, so this could be a problem. What do I think? Where can I fill that up differently?
Yeah. When you say fill it up differently, Jodi, so it's not that the dopamine's bad per se. It's just you need to find like whatever that's super, nourishing in some kind of way that can give you that same hit in a good way and only get you ahead in life in a way. Is that the idea?
That's the idea. Like that whole thing, right? Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Right? Like that doesn't work for me ever. But I try, right? Yeah. So things like I'm having that feeling again. Oh, music is a big one, right? Outside, nature is another big one, right? Filling ourselves up with things that we can touch, feel, taste, that are going to fill our souls.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yes, what she said. Yes.
Rather than like going outside of ourselves, right? Like if I go sit in nature, like I'm in that. Mm-hmm. It's not outside of me. It's part of me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, for me, taking a walk in nature once a day for an hour, there's a nature park, almost solved 3/4 of my problems. Like it just was really unbelievable. Sorry, go ahead, Miranda. You're going to say something.
Oh, that's okay. Something that I have been doing for, quite a while since college is lifting in the gym. And, it doesn't have to necessarily be lifting either, depending on, what someone prefers to, exercise or, just, feel that, feel your heartbeat, feel your breath, whether it's walking, running, lifting, anything like that. But just taking that time, and don't even think about, I'm doing this to, lose weight or to be thin, just think about, you are using your body and you are doing something with it, that will not only make you feel better, but it helps you to be connected, with nature. So I run, a few times a week. I was an athlete through college, but I definitely have, toned down the running just for my knees too. But, just being connected with nature, there's something so nice about it. And if you're, by yourself, I usually run by myself, and it's a nice way to connect with yourself and other people too. So even though you might not be talking to the people around you, it's like you're still, in that community, which is a really nice feeling. So, doing things like that with exercise, yoga, those are really great ways to, not spend money or, not go out to eat if you have that, binge eating or any other type of addiction. Those are really great ways to fill those voids that a lot of us have.
Mm-hmm. I think she's got some hope. What do you think, Jodi?
Oh, I think so. I think you're a pretty amazing woman.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I think she's going to be on her way. What's that?
I've been on my healing journey for a while, but now is the time where, okay, now we're not going to look at, what you've been through and, what you've overcome. We're going to look at the coping mechanisms that you've developed over those years and through those times and, tackle them and, learn to deal with them and live with them and hopefully eradicate some of them. So
is that a point too? It sounds like she's ready, in other words. Yeah. Are you feeling that? Yeah. Well, I'm definitely, obviously going to make sure you guys are connected for helping you. It was so nice of you, Jodi, to offer some help. Oh. And I'll certainly be linking for those of you guys watching who are watching this. We're going to put it up in our group that we have, right, Miranda? Well, not that we have, but that we're part of. And we'll put Jodi's information below and hope that they watch this and hope that they get on a better path and be able to join whatever needs to be joined to get started on a better path, because certainly it'll cost you a lot less money than what the whole shopping thing will cost in the end, that's for sure. So Do you have any final thoughts, Jodi? What do you think?
What do I think? I think that you're a pretty amazing woman, and it's reparenting yourself is going to be your key. I really think so. Just after hearing your story.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That means a lot. And, that's what I want to do with my story. I want to encourage other people, and I want to be open so that other people can find the courage to start their healing and to, pick up their pieces and to recognize, ways that, they're holding themselves back, or ways that they've been dealing with, those voids or those traumas, and to conquer them. So I definitely want to encourage anyone who, is tuning in. If you do have that specific shopping addiction, definitely if you, are not in a place where you either feel comfortable, or if you're not in a place financially that you can begin therapy or group therapy, go on Facebook if you have it and join groups. That's how me and Laura met, is through shopping addiction, group. And it is so nice, after scrolling past several ads on Facebook, it's nice to see those posts from other people sharing their stories, or even sharing memes, because, even though it is hard dealing, with a shopping addiction, it's okay to laugh at yourself too. And it's okay to laugh together, because, we all have this issue in our group. And so, that's the most important part, is just reaching out, finding support, finding people who, can relate with you and, potentially help you, and you help them.
Yeah, and you're not alone. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and anyone else subscribe to the channel, because what we're doing on this channel is really trying to bring, it's a female channel, so we're trying to bring women together, sisterhood together, to help each other in all kinds of ways like this. And plus you might get comments, Miranda, so you might want to you might get people reaching out, so you'll become a little star in your own little way. So we're good, you guys. This is I'm so happy that we got to do this.
Oh, me too.
And thank you so much for joining. And obviously I'll be in contact with both you guys, but I think we did a good job. It's a good start. We'll have to do a checkup on you in a few months, see how things are going.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Good.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, and thanks for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Everybody, thumbs up. Good job. Okay. We'll say goodbye, and then if anybody wants to hang out with me after, you're welcome to. I'll just say goodbye to this part. Bye, everybody.